I was going to ask you as well, what's been going on with all the logging that's super close to you guys? Because you said obviously you brought a bit of land off the loggers, but obviously it still backs onto more that they own.
Yeah. So to be clear, the land we bought at the bottom was private timber plantation. The issues we have currently are all with the state-based logging agency, Sustainable Timber Tasmania. We don't operate on their land with any of our trails. So the trails are all with Parks and Wildlife or privately owned. But what they're doing is they're logging the border of our shuttle road. So their argument is it's not really part of your operation. My argument from a purely business point of view is you're detracting from the experience we provide our guests. Like, this is stunning rainforest, big man ferns, massive trees. Like, that is part of the experience. With us, you're on the uplift as much as you're riding for a lot of people. So it's all part of it. I mean, I have a personal issue with it from a conservation point of view and just a general economics point of view. Like, they're not making any money out of chopping those trees down. They lose money on it. So it just seems nonsensical to me that you've got this town that's moving from a logging hydro kind of town into now being a tourist town, and we're just smashing down the forests. And the reason people like Red Bull come to us is like, hey, you've got great trails, you've got the ability to build what we want you to build, but they're also coming for the environment. Like, those broadcast guys are on the hill like, holy shit, this is going to make the most amazing broadcast. Like, it is the most epic wilderness environment, and we're just gradually destroying it around the place. Like, the park is fine, but let's not fuck the town, the amenity around the town, because that's why people are coming.
Do you reckon it's almost like spitefulness that
it's spiteful now? Yeah, look, to be totally clear, I think that agency is spiteful now. Like, they are deliberately pulling coops online around the park just to piss us off. Like, the other day, I was talking to the Premier about it, and I was arguing that they needed to leave a tree buffer, which they're supposed to do for a tourism asset, along the side of the road. Like, I don't agree with the logging at all of the old growth forest personally, but it's like, at the very least, like, leave the visual amenity so you're not detracting from what we're providing our guests. They got word that I was arguing with the Premier about this visual buffer. So they went in when we were closed the day after, moved all their logging equipment in, smashed the buffer, packed up and left, so that it was too late for there to be a political intervention about the buffer. So they just left they smashed the buffer zone down and then just left. Like, it didn't work for them operationally. It would have been a massive pain in the ass, but they're just making a point. Like, they just smashed all the trees down and just left.
Yeah,
so
you piss someone off and they, for whatever reason.
Well, they just knew that I was probably going to get some traction politically and they would have to leave the buffer. So before I could get political traction, they went in and smashed it. So look, there's a lot of plantation around there, like Bright. No problem with pine plantation. Great. We've all got to wipe our asses on something. We need paper. Like, pine plantation, not an issue at all. But the thing with these forests that they're logging now is that they're like 80 to 100 years old, minimum. They've never been clear felled. Like, they've selectively taken out trees, but they've never knocked the thing to the ground. And now they come in and just knock it to the ground. It's like, you've got Tasmanian devils, you've got quolls, you've got all sorts of wildlife in there, and they're just decimated.
Yeah. It's one of the most picturesque places in the entire world.
Absolutely.
And it's like, people are coming here more than ever
to
experience it. And then you're like, all right, fuck you, we're going to cut it all down.
Yeah.
And then, oh man, even like you did say, right, obviously pine plantation, but it is a similar thing where they've got to see the value that mountain biking and paragliding has brought into that town. And it's like, why don't we just give you this little sliver?
Cut that bit out.
Cut this little bit out. Just let the trees grow, let the tracks mature. Yeah. Don't have to redo it every year, and just see if more people come, more money flows, like everything, because you guarantee.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, we get that argument, the counter argument. Rotorua is used as an example. It's like, well, look, in Rotorua, they clear fell the whole place. It makes no difference. The riders don't care. I'm like, but if you've actually ridden Rotorua, the trails suck out in the open. Like, the soil's terrible because it's in the sun. It looks shit ass. Like, it is so much nicer to be in the native forest. Like, people do care. They're just.
But how do you say that they come? Like, of course they come back. But would more come if you didn't do it?
The argument,
and would the trails be better?
Yeah.
It's like, you can only do that by not cutting them down for X amount of years.
And look, almost all our marketing is built around the environment around the park. Like, you look at any of the content on our socials, we're not showing you big logged areas. Like, we're showing you big man ferns and trees, and that's why people are coming. And that's my argument. It's like, Tasmania is so well positioned to have this whole new tourism economy around nature-based tourism and adventure tourism. Like, why can't we be like a Queenstown? where Hobart has all these really cool adventure activities and people are out in the wilderness. Like that's what we should be doing.
Well, that's Tasmania. Tasmania is...
That's what we are.
It's a tourism destination. Come here and look at stuff and enjoy it and ride around and see stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And a huge part of that is the wilderness. So I'm like, look, keep your plantation, all good. But the native stuff, just fucking leave it alone.
Yeah.
Like it's silly. It doesn't make any sense. And look, to be honest, a lot of it's just going to wood chips. Like they get a few floorboards out of it, but most of it's either left on the ground or turned into wood chips. Like it's a political issue where I think you see like WA and Victoria have both stopped old growth logging. I just don't think they feel that they don't have the voter base yet to do it. I think it'll happen one day, hopefully in my lifetime. I'm pushing pretty hard to try and do what I can to make it a reality. Yeah, and it's not like we don't hate the logging industry. I'm not trying to ruin the jobs of the logging industry. It's like just let's be smart about this. Like we need specialty timber to make chairs and boats and other things. Like let them take the odd tree out, like put a higher value on it. Let them extract the timber they need to do this stuff. Like don't just smash it on the ground and sell it for pennies on the dollar because they can't get their certification. Like they need the global certification to be able to sell it to proper purposes, that FSC forest stewardship certification.
Yeah.
They can't get it. They keep failing because they're too shit at what they do at the end of the day. So no, it's a constant source of frustration, to be honest.
Are you feeling like there's some, like, it's going in the right direction in some ways, or is it all a bit...
It is, and then you just hit another political brick wall. Like we get a lot of interest from the professional writers and things. Like a lot of them have actually written to the government, copied us in, like really high level writers saying, look, this sucks. What are you guys doing? Like the interest is growing and the awareness of it is growing. Like we're in a difficult space politically where like we have the government funding massive events for us. And then in the same breath, like I'm asking them for that funding while I'm publicly criticizing the way they do things. Like it's a tough line to walk. That's
where weird
it is
double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yep. And it's like I don't mince my words. Like I'll tell them what I really think. But equally, like sometimes you'd have to try and be a little bit diplomatic. It's like, look, we're bringing these massive events to you guys. It has a huge impact on the region. The park brings in like 25 million plus a year into the local economy. Like we're doing things, but we need you guys to just think a little better about the way you manage the forests, because otherwise all that money we're bringing into the economy starts to get jeopardized if you just keep knocking the place down. So
well, that's what I mean. Like surely they could see that it's like, again, you're selling this package, make the package as good as possible is going to be beneficial for the both of you, not just one of you. And I guess they're just seeing it as it's just beneficial for you.
Yeah, well, even our argument is like, you've got all this land you could log. Like personally, and I'm very open with them, I don't support you logging the old growth forest at all, but why do it like right in the town? Like you don't even need to be having these arguments. You could be doing it way the fuck over there and we won't even know about it. But instead you're like bringing it right up against our operation just to make a point. Like that organization loves to create conflict, to be honest. Like that's their thing. So it is frustrating, but it comes back to Burnham. Like they were trying to do all the logging over the EWS and it created the EDR, such a big fuss publicly that they have to back away. And now they've come back and done it. But we're getting there.
Just
slowly
like
but
stirring
surely.
Shit for the sake
they
of
were,
stirring shit. Just let's make... Oh man, it's frustrating.
It's frustrating. Yeah, it really is.
And I guess I've dealt with not the same as that. Obviously, Bright is a plantation.
Yeah.
But it's still, you're trying to make things better.
Yeah.
And then when everything's getting cut down every few years, you're just like, I think I talked to you about this and I was like, I don't think you can have a successful mountain bike park in an active plantation.
It's hard.
It just doesn't.
I mean, we did a lot of strategic work in Bright. We've done 2 strategic plans for the trail network. The first one sort of superseded now. We did another one recently, and that's looking at trying to program in trail works so that they can happen in the freshly felled areas. So the way it's sitting right now, there is actually an opportunity to get going soon and build a bunch of stuff that's there for, 20 odd years, which that's fine. That works.
But even though you just, I don't know, this is me being picky. You go to Canada or something, these huge pine trees.
I would much rather.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It creates an experience that goes with the trail network, just like you're saying in Maydena, like these huge trees create an atmosphere and a feeling, and like you're trying to create that. If you're going through cut down pine trees, you're like,
well, we're going into the forest, right? Like I don't know why you ride your bike, but for me personally, one of the best things about riding a bike, and this is why I do it early in the morning when no one's around, or late at night when no one's around, up in Maydena, and the sun's nice, it's shining through the trees, you're just pedaling along. It just resets things in my head. Like it's this busy, stressful kind of day, and you're just cracking the shits about everything. You just get on your bike, go for a ride. You feel so much better. I wouldn't feel that if I was not the same, if I was out in this clear-felled, shitty space. Like, it's about, it sounds cheesy, but the birds tweeting and the light coming through the trees and the ferns coming over you. And it's a pretty special kind of experience. And you just don't get that in that clear-felled kind of environment. Like, you're there to ride. You're not there to have that whole experience, which I think for me is part of it, definitely. And like you say, Canada's awesome. There's big towering pines and like wild rivers, and it's fucking
its
cool.
Soil's different. It becomes loam.
That Canadian loam.
That's what I mean. Like, that gets created through keeping the trees there, not churning them over. Like, there's something we can't have because of the logging constantly.
Yeah, maybe we will. The tides are turning a little bit. I feel like maybe there's an opportunity.
I'm just
there.
waiting.
Yeah, just wait. Yeah.
I'm in the wings. As soon as they just sell it or change it, it's like. 'Cause